Welcome back to the Dragon's Lair. My name is Wade, and this is my show, Let's Talk Warhammer. Today, this is the third and final of the faction videos. We're talking about the factions of Warhammer 40k. So I've already made an Imperial video, I've already made a Chaos video, and now we're going to talk about Xenos, or the alien races. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram as The Dragon's Lair, and in YouTube, it's the_dragons_liar. In TikTok, Instagram, it's the space dragons space liar. Let's get into it because these are only 10-minute videos. So talking about Xenos, we're talking about the aliens. Now, this video is not meant for lore masters or people who are necessarily got a lot of experience or have been playing for a long time. This video is more meant for beginner people or people who are kind of trying to get into it. So I'm going to make examples that are not 100% perfect, 100% accurate, but can help newer people understand what I'm talking about. So we have a good example here at the beginning. The Eldari, or the Eldar, are basically space elves. They're tall, they're skinny, they have pointy ears. Space elves. So I almost called them space elves. The Eldar were actually made by a race called the Old Ones a super long time ago. They were made alongside the orcs, but they were made by the Old Ones, and their species is actually in decline. They had an apocalyptic event called the Fall, which basically their decadence caused Slaanesh to come into existence on our side of existence, not just inside the warp. I'll get more into that in a second. But anyways, they have very powerful, old, ancient, advanced technology. They're also masters of psychic powers, and they can utilize what's remains of the webway. So the webway was created by the Old Ones, or it could be even older than the Old Ones. And then it's been used. The Empire of Mankind tried to use it. It's been damaged. There's been all sorts of stuff. Lots of it still exists, and the Eldar pretty exclusively have access to it. Then there's the Drakari, which are like the Dark Elves. They're the Dark Eldar. So when the Fall happened and the species split, that's oversimplification, they remained decadent and perverse and twisted and immoral and horrible, unethical, evil Dark Elves. They remained that way. They love violence and depravity and excess. They take slaves, which they love to torture. And they are thousands of different clans that are always competing for control over each other. So that's kind of how the inside of Drakari society works. Then there are the Necrons. I love the Necrons. I play the Necrons. They are very old. They were one species called the Necrontyr, which then became another species we now call the Necrons. They existed at the same time as the Old Ones, and they envied and coveted the eternal life that the Old Ones had. They asked the Old Ones for the secrets of this life because their lifespans were very short, and they lived a very tortured existence. So they asked the Old Ones, hey, will you help us out with this stuff? And the Old Ones said, no. The Necrontyr didn't like that very much, and so they had a war called the War in Heaven. That's kind of when the Old Ones wanted their offspring, or the species that they created, really, the Orcs and the Eldar, to help them fight. In order to fight the Old Ones, the Necrons became desperate, or the Necrontyr became desperate, and they found an entity living inside of their star next to their planet that was so cruel because all the radiation came down and hurt their skin and that gave them short lives and killed them, basically. They found an entity living in their star, which they call the Star God. Some people say Catan, some people say Cetan. But anyways, they then made deals with such a thing. That thing is now called, what's now called the Nightbringer. But they found other Cetan living in other stars. The Deceiver, the Void Dragon. And there used to be many different Cetan. But basically, the Deceiver made a deal with the Necrontyr. Hey, I'll give you the technology and the power it takes to defeat the Old Ones if you just, give me the small thing like your bodies and your souls. So basically they forced all of the Necrontyr to give up their bodies and their souls and download into these undead robot bodies. So they look like skeletons, and these undead robot bodies are made of living metal. So living metal repairs itself. So Necrons on the field, on the tabletop, they actually can stand back up. It's hard to kill Necrons because they can stand back up. They have crazy, bizarre, advanced, ancient technologies. They didn't win the war in heaven. It basically was a stalemate, and the old ones kind of escaped to lick their wounds, and the Necrons were like, well, what do we do now? And so they're like, hey, we're going to sleep for a super long time, and when we come back, we'll be the cool people around, and we'll be able to kill everybody. And they came back, and they're like, what has been going on? And so that's kind of where the Necrons fit into the universe. The Orcs. The Orcs are amazing. I love the Orcs. I don't play the Orcs. Things you need to know about the Orcs is they are actually a fungus. And Grots, Gretchen, Orcs, Weird Boys, Mad Docs, Knobs, War Bosses, all of the Orcs together, they are all the same species, even though some are really small, some are really dumb. They get bigger over time, and as they get bigger, then they become the different things that we see, War Boys, Knobs, things like that. Orc culture is all about who is the best, and to them, that's who is the strongest. One thing to know about them is they are actually very psychic. They're very psionic, and they don't even know it. Basically, an orc can slap a bunch of things together and believe that it's a gun, and then it acts like a gun. There's no ammo in it. The parts don't actually line up. They're not machined right. It's not actually a gun. You and me would pick it up, and it would fall apart into trash. But because the orc believes that it's a gun, it's a gun. Their vehicles work the same way. All of their technology works off of belief, and they don't even know it. Then we have the Tau. The Tau is a very young race. They don't actually control a lot of planets, but for whatever reason, they advanced through technological steps very quickly. So they have a lot of advanced technology. The Tau believe in what's called the greater good, and they try to bring in other species to become a part of this collective, this communist collective called the greater good, where they share everything. And basically, they have other species like the Crutox that have come inside, or the Crute, the Vespids that have come in. There are traitor humans that defect to the greater good, those traitor humans. But anyways, they have really cool stuff. They have advanced technology, all sorts of shields, drone robots. They have mecha war suits and giant robots. Really cool stuff. I would love to play mecha war suits. There's the Tyranids. I love Tyranids. I play Tyranids. We are known as the Great Devourer. They are super extremely psychic space bugs. Some people believe, and this is just a rumor that I don't believe, that the Tyranids are actually entering our galaxy from all sides because something else behind them is chasing them. So like they're fleeing whatever is bad that they're running away from. And we're just, sorry, the Tyranids are now just running into us by accident because they're fleeing this whatever else is out there. What's really cool about the Tyranids is they deal with biomass, so they eat a bunch of stuff, then they vomit it up into these pools, it gets digested, and then that stuff gets used to make more Tyranids. So they eat like everything on a planet, like all the plants, all the animals, everything, and then they throw it up, and then that becomes more Tyranids. Oversimplification, there are gene stealer cults. What the gene stealer cults happen is Tyranids will send their spores ahead, they'll send gene stealers ahead, and they'll send the psionic influence of the hive mind ahead. It will infiltrate a planet and infect a planet, and then those people will be like, oh, the gods are coming, and they'll get all mutated into weird monsters. And then when the Tyranids finally do show up to eat the planet, they'll sabotage planetary defenses, they'll fight the defenders, and they'll help the Tyranids take over. It pretty much always ends the same way. Everyone gets eaten. The cult, the gene stealer cult, everyone gets eaten. They sacrifice themselves. Almost always ends the same way. And then we have the Leagues of Votann. The Leagues of Votann are very new. They're basically space dwarves. They have, there's a big argument about whether they're subhumans or whether they're Xenos. That's not completely decided yet. A lot of them are clones. They've been kind of in the background in the lore of 40k for a long time. But they brought them out. So space dwarves is not the right name. They used to be called squats. It's not the right name. They are the Leagues of Votann. Hey, we don't have very much time left. I want to say thank you. You're probably a very busy person for spending your time here with us at the Dragon's Lair.